Now I want to talk about the improving the retail offer. You know, how do we get the mix right? It's a question that's asked a lot in different places around the world. Because in the main street we face a lot of situations that are not prevalent in the shopping centre because we don't have that one leasing person leasing the whole street. There's a lot of different property owners. We have a mix that we face with already, you know, vacant shops in some locations. We might end up sometimes with lawyers and offices on key corner sites that are really, really important. There might be lack of pedestrian interest, so as you're walking down the street there's blank walls or blank glass, things that, you know, take away people's attention and don't actually create any interest. But how did this all come about? I mean, how did this happen? It's because sometimes the landowners aren't actually, or the property owners aren't actually in the state or in the country. They might live overseas, and sometimes the leasing people are under pressure to try and get a leasing deal done, so that they've got to try and get a retailer in there. So they're not always trying to look for that optimum mix because they're trying to get those vacant shops away. So also, without a leasing plan or a retail plan as such for the whole precinct, so we're talking about, say, a long street, a leasing plan overall, then what are we actually aiming for? So the shopping centre advantage is that they have one landlord, of course, one property owner, single management looking after their centre, leasing executives only focused on that centre to bring retailers in and out, and bring in new retailers when they need fresh new mix. They have a retail plan that projects forward, and they also have a development plan that projects forward for that centre. Very sophisticated research to help them make informed decisions, and they can also match the shops to the market demand as it's necessary. If you're looking at the main street, of course, and the precincts we're talking about, the different styles of shopping, of course. You've got your convenience style shopping and your food shopping generally close to home, and you've got your fashion mix or your homewares mix where people are willing to drive a bit further to do comparison shopping. And then you've got your experience style things, items, retailers, cafes, restaurants, different areas that people are willing to travel further to, and the customer enjoys that experience of going there. What are the different categories of centres? I mean, we've got community centres, neighbourhood centres, specialty centres, regional, super regionals, there's lifestyle centres, power centres, entertainment centres, all these different types of centres. You've got bulky goods centres and homewares centres, and then you've got the airports now are becoming a retail place as well, because they're adding in some great retail shops into the airports to attract that customer dollar, particularly the tourist dollar, as they're walking through the airport. If we research our customer area and have a look at our catchment area, where are we actually pulling our customers from, and what are the trends that happen within that catchment area? You know, is it becoming a younger area? Is it becoming an older area? Our statistics can actually can bring out some of those figures, and we'll be able to understand what the style of the household is in the precinct or in the catchment area, and what their spending patterns are like, and we can do some of that research that would bring some of that information out. Also need to do a complete audit of the streets, and I find I've got a lot of strengths in this area because you need to be on site, understanding what's happening with business dynamics and retail dynamics in the street precinct and the city area. And this is where you have to actually witness it yourself, be down on the ground and seeing exactly what's happening. Auditing all of the street precincts, auditing the different shops and stores, and the way they're laid out together is very, very important, and I find this is an area that I can offer something to you. The visual inspection and the detailed audit is what I put together, looking at building presentation, shops and windows, what target market the shop is chasing, what's the signage like, what image is actually presented and projected out into the market. Because if you have a whole lot of stores projecting a very high image in your precinct, that actually is going to push some of the market position of your precinct. So what do we really want to know when we're doing this research? We want to know how many shops in different categories, you know, what is their actual market position, what type of customer can they attract and will they attract. Some stores are destination stores in their own right, and they can actually attract customers. Other stores can't. They really only can take the traffic that's actually going past the centre. are stores trading well or not trading well? Do they need more space? How do we actually look in the precinct as far as some of our key corner sites and looking at our hierarchy of streets? How is the precinct working, or how is our town centre working? And are pedestrians actually walking around through these areas that we want? If you look at the types of categories and shop categories that we have, how many do we have in the high category as far as fashion goes, for example? Or how many really are just clothing stores? They're not actually presenting a very high image. Do they tend to be clustered together, and clusters of retailers can actually provide a destination in their own right? Do they give customers a good perception? What is the overall market position of the precinct and the group of stores, and are there lots of vacancies in a certain area, or is there a vacancy right next to a really nice store? So the market position is really important as far as putting together the overall picture of what our product is. What are those clusters as I talked about earlier? So if we're looking at the market position of an area, we're looking at the accumulative market position of all those different stores. What do they contribute to? And some examples of fashion clusters, for example, could include Oxford Street or Regent Street in London. Rodeo Drive in Los Angeles, in California, has got a lot of fashion at one precinct. Or you're looking at Collins Street in Melbourne, for example. Do we have upmarket, mid-market, low market? What is the market position? But then what we've got to consider is also doing a competitor audit, so we can actually work out how our strengths and weaknesses are positioned against the competitors, because this is really important. And the thing is, it really is important to see how the customer actually sees this perception and the difference between the two. So it's not so much about what we think sometimes, it's about how the customer is perceiving us, because that's how they'll react, whether they'll come and shop with us or not. So the steps are then to develop a retail plan involving a lot of stakeholders and looking at what sort of opportunities there are, looking at key sites and part of that hierarchy I talked about earlier, considering vacancies, which really can be considered as opportunities, looking at whether zoning requirements are required. And sometimes these are just very small steps on our way forward to a bigger plan. So key strategies could include having a manager responsible for the project, because someone needs to keep pushing the plan forward, having a retail project team that actually work together, getting the property owners included and other managers, looking at leasing agents working together with us and actually trying to help use that information from the research plan to deliver some great outcomes. Looking at positive publicity and marketing, and again come back to our marketing, which is so important, and showing leadership that we can by developing maybe a site or working with a developer for a leadership corner site. Then looking at our vacancies and actually keeping an opportunity list there for potential retailers to come in, and using the research data that we have to our advantage, because sometimes we might talk to a retailer, it might take 4 to 5 years to actually get them to come, but it's worth it in the end if we've targeted that retailer to get them to come to our precinct. And then considering trends of restaurants or cafes or discount stores that we can make the most of. Other strategies that could be used include leasing tools that we can actually put together to provide leasing opportunities and attract retailers to come to the precinct, which includes brochures, using the website, promotional CDs, a whole lot of different angles we can use to work with leasing agents and try and target those retailers that we want. Now, it may take time for them to come to the precinct, but it'll be worth it in the end to get them to come, as I mentioned earlier. So we need to have our strategies put together and be working towards the same plan. So I'm David West from Premier Retail Marketing, and I focus a lot on this development of retailers and trying to improve the retail plan and working on the business mix. I've done a lot of strategies in different locations, in town centres, in cities and in main streets and shopping centres. So if I can help you, please look at my contact section of this website and give me a call, and I can come back to you and work a way that we can actually try and make these success factors work for you.